Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And I know yesterday was pretty exciting with the Xbox Bethesda showcase and everything. I did cover that last night in case you missed it, but the excitement isn't quite over just yet, as there's still plenty of things happening in the month of June, aka the Gamers Holiday. Though the one big question that still remains is when and if Nintendo will hold their own Direct. And well, about that, we did get a new rumor that might tell us a little bit more about that. We actually might have a date here according to a couple of different sources, so we'll talk about that today. And also a potential leak for an Xbox game that fans have been asking for well over a decade. Yeah, I guess the leaky season isn't quite over just yet. We do have a lot to go over today though, so let's just go dive right into things, starting off with that Persona announcement made yesterday. You know, Atlus, they finally did it. After years and years of fans asking, they're finally bringing Persona 3, 4, and 5 to Xbox, including Game Pass. Now, this was rumored for quite a while, as we've covered on the channel over the last year or so, but this really was just such a monumental announcement for really any Xbox fan that likes JRPGs. These are legitimately some of the best in the genre and must-play experiences. However, there were still some questions about this announcement because what about PlayStation? What about Steam? And what about Nintendo? Are these games going to release on those platforms? And, well, I do have some good news today, and then, unfortunately, I do have some bad news as well. The good news here is that they did confirm that all of these games will release on PlayStation and Steam. So that's great and everything, but as you probably noticed, the Nintendo Switch was, it was left out here. I've kind of given up trying to understand Atlus, but I mean, they really are just baffling at times. Now, if you told me that Persona 5 Royal was running into technical problems on the Switch, and that's why the port hasn't happened so far, then okay, that's one thing. Sure, I'd be skeptical of even that, but beyond Persona 5 Royal, there's just absolutely no excuse whatsoever on why Persona 3 and Persona 4 have yet to get that Switch port. I mean, we're talking about a PlayStation Portable game here, and then a Vita game. And I'm 100% positive that these games would push major numbers on the Switch, so I really don't think fans should stop asking Atlus to do more of these ports. Maybe they just haven't gotten to them yet. That is a possibility, and maybe they have them planned for the future. But what I would like to see personally is for Atlus to become a fully multi-platform studio by the end of this generation. And that doesn't stop with just Persona either. You know, they really need to continue porting these other games like 13 Sentinels. They did bring that to the Switch here recently, but also bring it to Xbox as an example. There's also Catherine and just all of their future releases as well, including Persona 6. Get them on as many platforms as possible. Now, one interesting story that came from yesterday's Xbox Bethesda showcase was the Hideo Kojima Xbox partnership. This really was a huge announcement considering Kojima's status within the industry. I mean, he's an absolute legend, and him just having such a loyal and diehard fan base, especially on PlayStation, so this was really big for Xbox. But that there was really the shocking part about this announcement for some fans out there, and because of that, we've seen some fans not so gracefully accept that Kojima is working with Xbox. I mean, there was a petition of fans and everything trying to get this game canceled because it's an Xbox game, and then some fans, they're calling Kojima a traitor, and I mean, just everything else. Honestly, this is pathetic. I'm more convinced than ever before that some fans out there, they don't really like games. They just like rooting for their preferred plastic box. That's what this kind of tells me. But Kojima Productions, they did respond to some of the backlash and stated this over on Twitter. After the announcement of our partnership with Microsoft using the cloud technology, many people have asked us about our collaboration with Sony Interactive Entertainment. Please be assured that we continue to have a very good partnership with PlayStation as well. So there you have it. Just calm down, everybody. Yes, Kojima is working on what looks to be an exclusive Xbox title, but it does make sense here. He wanted to challenge himself by taking advantage of the cloud, and, well, Xbox, they are a leader in that category. And this is one of those benefits of being an independent studio. You have that creative control and you can make the choices that are best for you and your studio. And I do find it kind of sad that they have to remind fans of this, that they are indeed, yes, an independent studio. With that in mind though, from everything that we've heard, this is not the only game that Kojima Productions is working on. If that leak was true that Kojima is also working on a Death Stranding sequel, well, you get that game as well, which will be a PlayStation game. That does seem to be what this tweet here is signifying, and you know what? If that is the case, then, well, I'm going to play both, because I am a fan of Kojima, and more importantly, I'm a fan of gaming first and foremost. Yeah, some people out there, they just kind of take this stuff way too serious. Anyways, though, we do have some more PlayStation news to talk about today, and this is actually fantastic news. As some of you all know, there's been a lot of coverage over the last month or so about PlayStation Plus Premium and their classic catalog. They've been staggering this new service across several regions, and based on some of the regions that it's already launched in, the classic catalog, it seemed rough, to say the least. This was primarily because they were using the PAL version of the PlayStation 1 games, which runs at 50 Hz. This was very problematic as TVs today, they run at 60 Hz, so this basically caused them to have some frame pacing issues, and they appeared to pretty much be running in slow motion. It just wasn't good. However, PlayStation Plus Premium did launch in some new regions today, including North America, which, by the way, you can go check out their full lineup now, so definitely go do that. But also, it's been confirmed that at the very least, in North America, they are using the NTSC version of PlayStation 1 games, which means that, yes, they do run at 60 Hz. Now, we still don't know all the regions that will be using the NTSC versions just yet. It's just been confirmed for North America so far. But as we talked about in a previous video, the PAL versions of these games, they do have more language options, which is likely why they're using those in certain regions such as Asia. But I would like to see them fix this problem worldwide. At the very least, maybe let fans choose which version of the game that they'd like to play. If they do want more languages, then they can use the PAL version, but otherwise, let fans play the NTSC version. As for you North American fans out there, though, you can rest assured because you will get to play those PlayStation Classics at 60 Hz. Let's go and talk about Nintendo, though, as we continue to ask, will they have that big Nintendo Direct this month in June? I think everybody kind of expects that it will happen because Nintendo, they typically do have a big event for this month planned. At the same time, though, they've been incredibly quiet, and you know how us gamers are. We're going to speculate and we're going to search for those leaks. Well, our first leak, it didn't pan out, which we talked about last week. A content creator leaked Neon White and its NDA, which was June 15th, and the belief here was that Nintendo will hold their Direct on the 15th, where the game would get shadow launched. Well, that leak kind of fell apart because Neon White was actually revealed at the Summer Game Fest instead, so now we're back at square one. Fans are now freaking out, thinking that Nintendo won't have a Direct this month, but hang on, rumors are once again swirling. That's right, it once again does appear that Nintendo will have a showcase set for this month, though it appears to be later than usual, being on June 29th. Now, the reason that this date's been pegged is because Alana Pierce on a live stream claimed that a Nintendo Direct was planned for the 29th. Apparently, she had written it down and everything and checked her calendar just to make sure that she had the right date, and then she reiterated that it is set for June 29th. Now, she did note that Nintendo didn't tell her this themselves, so it's probably best to take this all with a grain of salt, as you really should with any rumor out there. At the same time, though, Alana Pierce is a great content creator. She works with Sony Santa Monica, and she knows people within the game industry. People do talk, so I do believe this is what she heard. I do think that she's telling the truth about this situation. Whether it's accurate or not, that there's a different story. But with that said, the Video Game Chronicles, which is also a great source, they claim that they've been hearing similar things, that Nintendo is planning a Direct for later this month. So again, it does seem like there's a reason to believe that this could possibly be true, and even though this might be a little later than what many of us expected, at the end of the day, as long as Nintendo, they had their showcase for this month, then I think that we'll leave June very happy. I mean, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo all showing up this month is exactly what gamers want. So now we just kind of continue to wait not so patiently for that official confirmation from Nintendo themselves. Then after that, we can move on to some of the good times where Nintendo gives us some big updates on some games like Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. They have Xenoblade 3 right around the corner. There's also other games out there like Advance Wars Reboot Camp, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, though I kind of figured that's going to be more for the Pokemon Directs. But then you have some rumors going around like Metroid Prime Remake. There's a new Donkey Kong game supposedly in development. And I mean, there's a lot of potential announcements that could be made at a showcase like this. So all in all, it should be a fun showcase if and when it does happen. Again, maybe on June 29th. Now, speaking of rumors though, about 24 hours before that Xbox Bethesda showcase, a pretty big rumor popped up online that had the internet in a stir, and that was the possibility that Banjo-Kazooie was going to be announced there. Now, fans have been asking for a new Banjo-Kazooie game for well over a decade, and really if you want to take things even further than that, I mean, fans have been asking for a non-nuts and bolts Banjo-Kazooie game since what, like 2000? Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and for whatever reason, Xbox, they just haven't done much with this IP. According to MVG, though, on the Nate and Hate podcast, he's been hearing a lot about Banjo here recently. We can actually take a look here at his exact quote where he said, "Banjo will be at this show, and it will be announced. I have spoken to a lot of people, and I'm not an insider, I'm a developer, but sometimes I hear things, and I was at GDC earlier this year, and there were some people talking about Banjo. I've heard that Banjo's coming up for months now from different people. Something's happening with Banjo. What I can't tell you is what that is. I feel pretty strongly that there will be a Banjo announcement at this show because, man, I just keep hearing about Banjo." Now, obviously, this didn't exactly pan out or age all that well, but there's actually a little bit more to this than just that. The reason I say that is because Nate the Hate was asked about this very specific topic after the showcase, where he claims that Banjo-Kazooie was not at the showcase because Xbox decided to focus on just the next 12 months, and Banjo will not release in that time frame. He then continues on to say that a new Banjo game was greenlit for development. So here he's doubling down by saying that Banjo is indeed in development, it just was not at this showcase because it's not planned for the next 12 months. Now, you can kind of take this one as you will. Nate the Hate has leaked some things in the past, and, well, MVG is a developer over at Night Dive Studios. So it's certainly not out of the realms of possibility that all of this could possibly be true. I'm sure Xbox, they've heard the chatter over the years to bring Banjo back, and I think that it's kind of hit that apex once Nintendo announced Banjo for Smash. It was really at that point that you really witnessed just the overpouring amount of joy for the Banjo-Kazooie IP. I'm absolutely positive that Xbox, they noticed that, and have probably majorly considered bringing Banjo back ever since. For that matter, I mean, Phil Spencer, he's publicly admitted to wanting more family-friendly games for Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, which Banjo very much is. The problem, though, is who's going to develop this game, because Rare, they seem to have no desire to make a new Banjo game based off of their comments in the past. Now, maybe they've changed their mind since, but it is possible that a new Banjo game would actually be handled by a different studio. However, Xbox, they do have more studios than ever now, so they do have that going for them. Or they could bring in a third party and just kind of license out one of these Rare IP like we've seen other games like Battletoads, Killer Instinct, and even the upcoming Perfect Dark. The next question, though, becomes, what type of new game are we talking about? Will it be a Banjo-Kazooie 3, or are we talking about a Banjo 1 and 2 remake? Now, I actually think that remakes makes a lot of sense here because, I mean, we've seen the success that these type of games can have, such as Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. And then, if they do have a lot of success, then you can kind of think about a full-on sequel like we saw with Crash Bandicoot 4. So I do think that that's highly likely, but regardless on what they do, if they do bring Banjo-Kazooie back, you all are going to see me just absolutely freak out because I am a huge fan of Banjo-Kazooie. This really is one of my all-time favorite franchises, but as a big Banjo fan, I also have kind of learned over the years to just brace myself for disappointment. Even the original rumor before the Xbox Bethesda showcase, I was skeptical to say the least. I will say this though, I continue to hope that a new Banjo game is coming, and I sure hope that all of this is actually true. But let me know what you all think about all of this. Would you all like to see the return of Banjo-Kazooie, and who would you have develop it? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day though, where I asked you all, what was your favorite reveal at the Xbox Bethesda showcase? I know that there were a lot of games here, but the winner undoubtedly goes to none other than Starfield with 54% of the votes. 18% of you all did vote for Persona though, then 11% for Forza Motorsport, 8% for Redfall, and then 9% of you voted for Other. Looking through the comments, I did notice a lot of votes for High on Life, which, as I said yesterday, that's actually a sneaky good-looking game. If you play Trover Saves the Universe, you'll kind of understand why there's some excitement for this one. That was actually a pretty good game, and I do expect High on Life to be much the same. A very humorous and good title. A lot of comments also voted for Scorn. A Plague Tale Requiem was there as well. And then Diablo 4, that's a big one. There was also The Last Case of Benedict Fox. That one I'm personally very excited for. And that really was the thing about this showcase. It really seemed like there was just a lot of good games, big and small here, that reaches a large variety of the community. I know I, for one, left that showcase thinking just, wow, the next year is going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, if you start to think about it, this showcase didn't even include some other big games out there like the Callisto Protocol. You have the Dead Space remake and even the Resident Evil remake as an example. I think that if anything, 2023, especially the first half of 2023, looks just absolutely insane. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.